Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Hashtag Leadership What's on Your Mind. I feel like I need to say Happy New Year again. If you haven't seen last week's episode, make sure you go back and consume that. This is the second one of January. And if you haven't seen the podcast so far, please go back and see all of last year's episodes. So we're here to inspire and motivate others on their leadership journey. And take as many added value points from the fantastic guests that we've had and are having on. Today we're speaking to Holly Moore. Hi Holly, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So the reason we've got the guests on this week, and especially for Holly, is I want to get people on this month even to inspire and motivate others. So people who have really thrived in 2020, and Holly definitely fits into that category, being in the events industry. And I've seen the great thing about social media, you can people stand out, and I think that's what Holly's done in 2020. But I really want to get into actually what had to be happening for that to success to happen, and a little bit behind the scenes. So to start off with, Holly, we're obviously talking about leadership specifically, but what comes to your mind when you hear just the umbrella term leadership?
Yeah, I think for me, leadership is very different to managing, directing people. I think for me, leadership is about giving people a direction, giving them hope, giving them motivation, and giving them like a joint vision. So I think it's about, it's about creating that kind of collective goal that makes people want to be on a journey with you. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at like the day-to-day of managing people and, all the HR and PDPs and stuff like that. I think that's a different skill set.
Yeah, fantastic. I've just remembered I forgot to ask you to introduce yourself. But well, so for people who don't know you, give us a little bit about what you do, who you are, and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Holly Moore, live in Wilmslow in Cheshire, set up an events agency 8.5 years ago, which was on a great trajectory. We were in one of the top 50 agencies nationally, got really good figures on the books for this year, and then obviously COVID hit. Our kind of strategy has always been to be the go-to agency for the North's household names and create the ultimate experience, which obviously over the last 12 months we've changed that strategy, not necessarily the vision. I also have another business called HM Events, which is for luxury private parties, weddings, etc., whereas makes for all the corporate communications events, and that we actually launched in lockdown, believe it or not. And then in addition to that, I love like one of our brand values is anything is possible. So I do a lot of speaking around that in terms of like mindset, business development, and mental health as well. I think that's
awesome.
it.
lots of plates spinning there. It's awesome. We'll find out a little bit more about it. So let's just concentrate on you for the last little bit. So are you aware, whether it was on reflection or at the time, where your leadership journey started?
Oh, no, because I actually don't think I got it right for many, many years. And actually, I write a diary about everything. And I actually think that my leadership skills, believe it or not, properly kicked in this year, despite having a business for 8 years. And I don't know whether that was because I think I've realised in the last 12 months I'm a very value-led person, and I think that it almost took a bigger purpose, a greater purpose, which was getting us through a global pandemic and keeping as many jobs as possible, and a kind of proving the anything is possible theory. It kind of took almost more than just growing a business for my leadership skills to really kick in, because I think I'm quite an emotional person, so sometimes I've not always made the right decisions because I didn't want to step into an emotional space that maybe I wasn't comfortable with. I think with COVID, you've had to make decisions and strip the emotions out because, you were having to make decisions for the greater good of everything. So I think that's been a massive learning curve the last 9-10 months, in that for me, leadership is actually, I needed much more than just financial growth of a business to allow my real skills to kick in, I would say. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that you're a massive advocate of self-development, investing in yourself. You said about the skill set really came to the forefront this year, but where do you think that ability, and I kind of put that into self-awareness and in the military we call about having tools in your toolbox.
Yeah.
Like to have all the things in there for when these things happen, that you can then go to that skill set. So where do you think that skill set has come from? Because I know that where do you think that ability to know the value of personal professional development and lifelong learning, where do you think that came from?
Well, I think I've got a really clear memory of it, actually, because I was never academic. You know, I got my grades as best I could, but I wasn't academic in any way, and I hated revising and everything like that. And I remember going to the library. I don't know if I was like 16 or something with my mum. My mum was always like booking on these like workshops. And to be fair, my mum's not into personal development, but she took us to this workshop and we did like a goal setting thing. And it was like, where do you imagine your life to be? What would be your perfect day in like 10 years? And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, getting the opportunity to sit and just think about your perfect day and write it down. How nice is that? So I remember it kind of triggered then. And then I think as like a late teens, 20s, I struggled emotionally. I went to an all-girls school. I don't think that set me up for success. I think I had underlying issues, a mental health issue, which would manifest in my mid to late 20s. And so I think I was always searching for something. I don't know what. So I read a lot of books. And then when I did, I feel like I talk about this all the time, so I don't want to jump on the bandwagon, but I had 5 years of having OCD and I had so much therapy, and in the end was on a really pioneering treatment. And I think that I managed to completely rewire my brain, like genuinely. And that showed me how kind of my brain hadn't been probably functioning properly for a long time. And when I did that, I just suddenly felt like, I know I keep going back to like this value of anything is possible, but I was like, if I can rewire my brain to think like this, to this, like anything is possible with the right application and learning and everything. And the psychologist that I had at the Priory, he says, God, Holly, like when I give you homework, you do homework. But at school, I was the total opposite. So I think for me, I'm a very practical person and I like to see results. And I kind of have always said to myself, I didn't go to university, so I didn't spend a load of my parents' money or get into any debt. So I feel quite justified that my education has come through books, podcasts, personal development events. And I love it. And it really, really works for me. So I feel like I just feel that that's my thing that I love doing. You know, it's not a chore to me at all.
It fits into that category a little bit of like making learning real.
Yeah.
I mentioned that when I transferred recently from last year to going from audiobooks to podcasts. I love audiobooks, but podcasts are just in the thick of it from real people in the moment. So yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that. And do you know what? Listening to that puts it in my brain a little bit about why I see so like everything you do is clinical, like really professional, looks really good. So when you're saying about your OCD thing, that's almost like that's where that comes from. And
yeah, it probably is a little bit actually like that perfectionism. Yeah.
Especially in your world and again in social media with a visual cue like that, your stuff really bounces regards
to. My house is like that though. You'd laugh, honestly. Like in my guest room, I've got like an amenities tray that no one ever uses with like a mini kettle, all the samples I've stolen from hotel rooms. But it's like awesome. That's what I love, and I think that's when you know when you love your job, it's when it rolls in. So back to like education. When I was thinking about what I wanted to do, it was like, what do I love doing? I love creating experiences for people, and I love chatting to people, and I love food and drink, and how does that all come together? And
fab, excellent. So let's really look at the reason why you're on today, because of the challenge that was 2020. So tell us a little bit about your experience in 2020 and move from sort of like the start to the finish, but that pivoting, it was key in your element as well. So tell us a little bit about how that came about and how you turned up and showed up for yourself in your business.
Well, I think I started off the year in a pretty bad place, if I'm honest. I had a team, no fault of any of that team that were there, because it was just not the right mix, but the team mix was not right, and it was really getting me down, and I didn't feel like I was being a good leader. And that obviously affected my self-esteem. So I set off the year in quite a bad place. Wasn't necessarily enjoying work that much. I love my business, I love what we do, but my day to day was not enjoyable. You know, I felt pulled in every direction. I wasn't doing anything well. And my life was mithered, do you know what I mean? And went to LA in February with a couple of friends to see Oprah Winfrey, back to the personal development bucket list. Went to her like 2020 vision tour, ironically, and thought I'd come back into that. I had the best trip. Thought I'll go and see Oprah and like my purpose will kick in, and it still hadn't. And then we got back from LA, and all this started to come out, and I was like, oh, you know, it was surreal. And then I genuinely believe that as soon as it kicked in and we had to start making decisions, you know, the week up to lockdown, as I said before, that's when my leadership skills, I feel, kicked in better than they had ever before. Now, the irony of, I think then what happened was, I mean, all our revenue dropped out, millions of pounds worth of contracted revenue dropped out. And we went into lockdown, and as a person that prided themselves on being independent, living alone, able to entertain myself, don't need to drink at home, you know, that was like my thing, that all went out the window when the rug was ripped from under me, which was my business and my lifestyle, if you like. So I went into lockdown thinking initially, this is going to be amazing. I never have any time at home. I can get all these things done I want to do. And the absolute opposite happened. I just went into a dark hole, not depression or anything like that, just literally unable to move. And I really, really struggled with this kind of communication when it was 8 hours a day. I'm like a face-to-face person that needs to be like, especially with a team, not so much with clients. I think this with clients is great because you're much more efficient. But with a team, I like to be there and bouncing off ideas, and I really struggled with that. Drank too much, fitness went a bit out the window, didn't move enough, and questioned everything. Why did I set up the business? Did I even really want a business? All this is material, it doesn't mean anything now. You know, just literally questioned everything. And then I started to write this pivot strategy, if you like. And with Make Events, hence the name Make Events, we've always kind of done what we say on the tin, is that the right expression? So I was writing pivot strategy, like, and this strategy sat on my computer for 4 weeks, much to the frustration of the team, because they're like, we're not doing anything, you know. And then the more that I wrote it, I was like, right, that's it. I'm going to call it the pivot. And like, everyone's using that word, so let's use that as our marketing strategy. And as soon as I got moving on that, I was back to being creative and creating value and contributing to the business. It's like my head started to click back in. And then I thought, I'm going to walk to the office every day, because then I think Boris said, if you need to work in the office, work at the office. And I thought, I need to work at the office for my mental health. Nobody was in the office, but just for me to get out the house, walk to work. And then since then, I don't know if this is too much detail, but we predicted to make a certain amount of a loss. I mean, I'm quite open about it because it helps other people. So we predicted a loss of 30k a month. I mean, that is like out the bank account of 3 staff. And I'm really proud to say that we have made a loss, not quite that much, but re-employed 10 people back. So we'll be able to create additional revenue streams that we never had before. So albeit we're not breaking even, we're in a better position than we were with a better business, which I can go into more detail. But I think for me, talk about 2020, it's been pivotal for the business because we were reliant on live events and venue finding, too reliant. So we're going to end up, I feel, with a better business, with more revenue streams, a better known brand, a great story, a sharp, polished, really rich team in terms of talent. And for me personally, I've learned so much about myself in the last 10 months, or nearly a year, that I won't come out of it the same person. And I think the other thing just to point out is that when I was really low, one of my kind of financial advisors, he said, I need to see you face to face because it's not like you know, to be continually this negative. And he said to me, Holly, your brand value, the biggest brand value that you pipe on about is anything is possible. So you need to look at that, and you need to see yourself on a stage in 12 to 18 months time and proving anything's possible. And also we got the CBILS loans, which we've not touched. And I said, do you think we should use them? And he was like, no, because you always harp on that the business has never had any debt, never had any credit card, never had an overdraft. to try and get to the end of it without that. So I've been really good with profits over the years, saving them. You know, I hadn't been flash in terms of, I've got a nice lifestyle, but I'm not living in a 5-bedroom house in Wales. I'm in a 2-bedroom house in Wales. So do you know what I mean? And I always just had this thing in my head that for a rainy day, and Corona became the rainy day. And I think if I can get, apart from our personal side, if I can get us, the team, to the end of this, I mean, great, you know, to say the summer when live events come back, we've not borrowed anything, we've maintained a team, and we're ready to go, then that will be the biggest anything is possible story for me personally that I could tell. And I think that's been like the carrot dangling, this vision of me talking about how we got through, which is quite egotistical really, but it's something you've got to get through.
No, what an amazing story. There's so many things that came out of that little bit there, that having that vision, and something that I've listened to recently is about and it goes into like elite athletes. They're
so
super focused on the outcome, but they're actually quite flexible about how they get there.
Yeah.
And there's somebody that I know quite close as well that lost a lot in the recession in 2007, and now they're recession proof because of how they turned up in that bad time. So what you've just said there is almost exactly what you've experienced, and you're going to come out the other side. Amazing. So with regards to the leadership side, I really want to dig into you seem to, and I haven't had a chance to meet you or come and see your team yet. It'd be great to come and see your office. I'll have to come over when into this year, later this year. But having those people, we talked before we came on about having the great people around you, creating that environment where people want to be part of the overcoming the challenges. What have been your things about how you've created great people around you, and some advice for other people about how they show up, turn up, but then bring other people with them?
So yeah, I would say this year, you couldn't really put on a front, and you know, you can listen to great leaders and great business leaders that say you're the swan, don't let them see that. I think Rachel Hollis says something about don't let them see you run, or you know, you mustn't let them see you cry. They've seen me run, cry, everything this year, because I'm not embarrassed about that. I didn't see my mum and dad as a lot of people didn't for months and months. My sisters in America, I was on my own, and I needed them. And if I couldn't show them my true self through this, for me, there was no point doing it. I couldn't be fake. So I guess I probably did what a lot of leaders tell you to the absolute opposite of, which was show my true colours in a lot of ways. And I think I was at the point where I'm like, do you know what? I don't care. Like, if you think I'm weak because I'm crying, if you think I'm weak because I don't know what to do, then you're not right for this business, because at the end of the day, like, this is me. So I think I showed my true self. I think another thing that has come through Corona, will have come through for a lot of business leaders, is trust. Like, we've had to trust our teams to work from home, to do Zooms, they're probably in the pajamas on at the bottom, to, you know, to trust that, yes, they probably are putting the washing in and going for a walk and, you know, and all that, but you're trusting them for output rather than that, you know, have to beat it down. And I want people in the office, you know, they can't work out at lunch, you know, I was that leader. So I think that when you're trusting people to deliver within their own homes, that's building trust everywhere, if that makes sense. So I think that's been a big thing. I think because when I would say to the team, when we started off small at the beginning, I'd say, right, let's push ourselves. And when we get to that point where we're going to mess up because we need another person, we'll get another person in. And so the fact that I think that the team were able to contribute to that and contribute to when somebody else would come back and who would come back and what skill set we needed back, they felt bought into the team as it grew. We were very transparent about the redundancies from the start, who was up for those collectively, because I felt like the people that were under consultation might need to talk to people that weren't, and I didn't want that to become a thing that friendships broken up and things like that. I think that was important. We've had so much fun. I can't even tell you. It sounds, I mean, we are very, very lucky that we've got like a coffee shop and a bar, and you know, and it's a cinema area and stuff like that. So we've had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. what else? You know, I still have done Christmas presents. We did a little Christmas company update the other day. I started baking and bringing stuff in for the team. Like it's been a lot of fun, and I'm probably like the chattiest one of everyone and a bit goofy, and you know, and it's been fine because yeah. Whereas I don't know if I've ever been that much myself. I have, of course, to a degree, but this year they've like seen it all at the end of the day. And
You know what? That's a theme that I've spoken to quite a few people about this year,
right,
about showing vulnerability. And it goes back to, like, they say about people buy from people. It's so true when your people respond to people. Like if they know you and there's no front, and some of the things that I deal with people and trying to get into organizations of business owners think they need to know all the answers. You alluded to that at the start,
yeah,
about you don't need to have all the skills in a business. You're building a business of the right people, and you're more bigger picture of like the focus and the purpose behind the
yeah.
business and the drive. So
I said that actually to one of the team the other day. I said, I think one of my strengths is I recognize good people and I'm not afraid to bring them in. And that might be a role, or it might be consultant or somebody I work with. And I'm never afraid of that. And I think that's another thing that the team actually said when we did a little review the other week. They all commented on the team spirit, which if you'd asked them 12 months ago, they would have said the team was to shit, basically, excuse my language. But they all said how amazing the team had been. And the other thing they said is the opportunities that actually this year created for them. And, you know, they've put their hand up and said, can I look after this for you? Can I look, don't bring anyone else in, I can do that. You know, and I think that they've all grasped the opportunity and seen it as a positive.
amazing. Awesome. Right, Holly, that's 20 minutes. I
Oh,
can't believe
wow.
it. It flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming and sharing that story. And if you guys want to go and check out Holly's stuff, I'm going to put the links in the comments below. I highly recommend going and checking out the businesses and also Holly's stuff as well. So guys, if you've been listening to us on your podcast provider, make sure you hit follow, share forward, and pass on to other people. We want to add value to as many people as possible in their leadership journey in 2021. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, hi, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell, and every Wednesday at 6 a.m. a new amazing guest comes out, and I've got some absolutely fantastic guests lined up for this year. So Holly, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. Are you still there?
Yeah,
There you are. Awesome. Good. I thought we'd frozen at the last minute. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll hopefully see you at some point. I'll come over and see your amazing office, and see you all next week, guys. Take care. Bye.